Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. Well, not the Game Bet Match podcast. It's the Ace the Odds podcast, the first one, because we have a special guest, Smoothman Sports, in the house. Um, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I'm super excited to collaborate for the 2026 season.
Super, super, super excited. Thank you for having me, Manny and Brad. I am stoked that we were able to finally do this. I know that I've been on Game Bet Match before. I know we've started working on that on the collab Twitter profile, but no one I like talking tennis with more. So super glad that we're able to make this happen.
Thank you. And we're both Sharp Circle enthusiasts, right? And I know you're huge on that platform, and it just stresses transparency, which we're both about. So I think this is just going to work out. I think what we do is pretty similar in terms of write-ups, in terms of transparency, in terms of just being all in to what we do in the betting space. So backing it up with analysis. So I just think this is going to be great. And Sharp Circle is going to allow us to kind of do this in a competitive way, to see how our bets of the day kind of stack up with the rest of us, So I think it's just going to be great.
Absolutely, so much synergy on Sharp Circle and from everything Sharp Circle is about. Gambling Twitter is a mess of a space, especially tennis, and it's rare you come across people who are passionate about sport in addition to passionate about betting. And even rare, you come across people who are passionate about the sport, who can talk about it and who are honest about their losses and who are doing it for, the fun and the love of both games, love of gambling, love of tennis. And I'm just excited for where it's going to go in 2026. It's going to be a terrific season. And yeah, this is the beginning of something great.
Mhm. So I just wanted to kind of break down like how it's going to run the formatting. So for the GBM, our individual plays are going to be exclusively on Sharp Circle. For now, we're still going to have GBM official plays and Popcorn Tennis, which will be exclusive on X now. And then we're going to have probably our, pods, just me and Brad. Those are going to be GBM pods, and if we include Smooth, it's going to be Ace the Odds pod. So, and Ace the Odds will just include um, our favorite plays of the day, a max of one per for each of us per day, and that will also be exclusively on Sharp Circle. So, I just think it's good to get the formatting out so you can kind of know where to find each of the things. And I'm sure Smooth, you're going to have your individual plays and write-ups on your Twitter page as well.
Definitely, I'll have write-ups on Twitter. I'll have write-ups on Sharp Circle. Looking into all sorts of new content delivery ways, actually. So keep an eye open for that in the new year. I'll have more updates soon, but dude, how long? It feels like it's been a month, 2 months, a year since since I've been able to write about tennis. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to sharing that back with everyone.
And Brad, just touch up on what they can expect from the podcast side in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to try. I think the biggest thing is we're just going to try to be more consistent. So we're going to try to have at least one, a weekly pod. We're going to really, really try to get back to that. And I expect that we'll be able to do that. Um, and then shorter pods. So we've had a lot of 3-4 hour pods in the past. I could see slams getting to that length just because there's so much to cover. But otherwise, we'll probably try to keep our pods to that 90-minute range. Probably maybe a little less recap, I would think, in our pods, maybe a little bit more forward looking. Just because it's I think our pods, like I said, our pods got a little bit long in the past. I think that's the biggest thing. And also we'll try to do I think we're going to try to do some solo pods, some more YouTube shorts. So probably just I think the general theme would be probably less 3-4 hour stuff and more stuff in the 1 to 2 hour that's a little more digestible.
Hmm. Definitely. So since we're trying to keep this to 1.5 to 2 hours, I guess let's get started with the actual content. So I guess we got to start here. We got to talk about the Alcaraz Ferrero partnership ending. That kind of was like bombshell news that broke the tennis world a couple days ago. Shocking to me, but it these things happen. It's a business at the end of the day. What were your thoughts? I guess we could start with Smooth.
Yeah, I thought this was shocking. Details are still coming out, and I'm sure more will come out as as the season begins and more interviews are given and investigators get investigating. But it's hard to think of a comp like this happening in any other sport where you have a player literally at the very top of the sport, um, with a coach who's been with him for about half his life now, or I guess a little less since he was 15. Really the only professional coach in training he's known. And this is like taking if it ain't broke, don't fix it to just burying that phrase altogether and deleting it from the lexicon. So I'm not really sure. I'm trying to think of a comp in another sport, but I don't think there's anything like it. And it'll be interesting to see why it happens, but man, I'm going to be very interested to see who Carlos brings in again, because he'll definitely have a coach before the year starts, I imagine. And I don't know. It seems like he was in the middle of making more changes to his game to be more aggressive, and it seems like that was going well. It's just shocking. I'm shocked. What do you think, Brad?
How do you think it affects his game? Like going into Australia, you think it's like it's gonna really negatively impact it, or you think it's gonna be negligible because he's so much better than the rest?
I think it's hard to say that it's not going to negatively impact his game. Um, I don't. I would be very interested in someone making the devil's advocate argument that he's going to play better as a result of this. Um, I'm not sure what this means for the rest of the team around Juan Carlos. Like, I don't know if this means that his physio is going. I don't know if this means his nutritionist is going. I don't know how much change is really coming with this move. But I mean, Carlos has had one voice in his ear his entire professional career since before he could drive a car in the United States. Um, and tennis players, you guys know this. You guys are tennis players. Tennis players are fragile, hot and
Yes.
cold beings, and Carlos is no exception. Like Carlos has lost his cool before. Carlos has lost his focus, and Juan Carlos Ferrero has always been there to pick up the pieces. So
Yeah.
going into Australia, an event that he's always struggled at,
Mhm.
um, I think it's probably fair to expect more struggles because I don't think that's going to be an easy event for Carlos, and that's where he could really use a
Yeah.
seasoned, experienced voice. What I'm very interested in what you guys think here because I would love for someone to tell me that this is going to unlock Carlos and he's going to become Supernova Carlos.
Yeah, Brad, why don't you go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I might make that devil's advocate. Like, I guess, I think Smooth, you brought up a good point. I don't know what it means for the rest of the team. I think that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm not part of the camp. So, I mean, with Carlos making adjustments, certainly. But was it Ferrero at this point, or were there other people involved? I'm not really sure. I also don't know, like, it's really hard to judge because him and Carlos and Sinner are so far clear of everyone else at this point in the sport. But I do feel like Carlos has been more rickety, compared to Sinner, and there's really nobody else to comp to because they're both of them are so far ahead. Um, so I guess that would be the argument. I think like I'll be interested to see who he brings in because I think it all depends who he brings in, right? I think maybe it could be a positive because I don't know that like is did Carlos have that much better of a year this year than 2024? I mean, I didn't look up any of the stats, but like I'm not sure. Like, was he making adjustments? Yeah, I would agree. He was making some great adjustments. I thought the second half of the year, US Open and post US Open, you could see those adjustments, but um could he like is it I'm not as down on this move as maybe you are, Smooth. Like I think it's maybe more neutral. I think it really depends. I think we have to see what happens, who he brings in. Obviously it could go terribly, right? He could make a bad move and it could go terribly, but I don't think it necessarily has to, would be my comment.
So I'm not so down on it in terms of tennis. Like I still think he's going to be a top two player in the world. He's just besides center, he's just so clear above the rest. So I don't think that that's really the problem. I think it's more a problem from a personal perspective. I think this move shows that his dad and his family have way more impact on his career than anyone initially thought. And I
Mm,
think they don't want to relinquish control of Alcaraz, and that was the reason because they thought that Juan Carlos had too much influence on him, and they didn't want to relinquish that control. And I think that that's dangerous because we've seen with it, with Zverev to some extent, Tsitsipas to a bigger extent. Like it's not good for their career. Once they reach kind of an adult level, like Alcaraz is now 22, 23, and he's been, on the tour for 4 or 5 years, he should kind of follow his own path, right? The parents should kind of trickle away. We saw that with Djokovic, right? His dad was in his team or his parents were in his box like for the most part of his early days, and then they kind of went away, and he brought in Becker and Marion Vida, and that's kind of how his career developed into what it was. So I think this is a very dangerous move, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, it could be. I'm hoping that the parents kind of see better and like allow Carlos to kind of find his own path. So that's my main takeaway here. So I think it would have been more dangerous in the initial like term if there was more competition for him besides Sinner. Um,
mm.
but but it's kind of from a tennis perspective right now. I think he's going to be fine. It's just long term for his career. I don't think this is a good move by any means.
That's
I
a
will
great take.
say, I'm just looking at this now statistically. So I was amazed. I didn't realize this. Alcaraz was 71-9 this year.
Yep.
Like I feel like we criticize him a lot for being inconsistent, or at least I think of him as being like kind of inconsistent for a guy who was 71-9. Like it's just like it's kind of a side point, but like the standard for him is so high, and I think that
Yeah.
that would be like I guess like it doesn't have it could end up being okay. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but yeah, for a guy who's 71-9, like I don't know, like how much it could get a lot worse.
Well,
You know,
that's my
it's
point. It's not about the results. It's about how Juan Carlos was treating Carlos, right? Like I think the family had a problem with how he was doing things with him, and they don't want to relinquish that control, and they want some of the credit for his
yeah, see,
success.
there was a lot of like I think smooth. I think you're right. Like I'll be interested to see what if and what comes out in the next 6 to 12 months because like they were initially pretty quiet about it, I would say, but details have sort of slowly trickled, and it'll be interesting to see because I mean I could see a few different things having happened, like money being the obvious first one, but I could see a few other things besides that, and yeah, I'm interested to see. I also wonder like is it a good thing for Juan Carlos? Can he find another person? I guess like looking at
Yeah,
like from Ferrero's perspective, can Ferrero find another teenager to bring up and to like, maybe not become Carlos again, but can he find another teenager like this to bring up?
that's a great point too.
Yeah.
What's next for JCF is really interesting because he is I really think one of the top coaches in the sport. And he's suddenly available. Some details have already come out. I wanted to bring out like Juan Carlos Ferrero shot an Instagram and like the first thing he said was like I would have continued. Like if it was up to me, we would have continued, or I would have chosen not to end. But it was in a way that was like maybe not blaming Carlos. It's come out that it wasn't about money. So we'll see. But I think you guys did hit on a really important point that like Carlos is just so much better than everyone not named Sinner that it may not actually matter for a while. But
But
it's just a tough situation.
But the thing is, Ferrero was in tune with Carlos's goals, right? Like
Yep.
Carlos kind of wants to be the best of all time. He wants to push the envelope, push those records, and like it's going to be hard to find someone that kind of speaks on that same wavelength, and it takes time to build that relationship. Um, so
Yep.
to me, this is a knock on his parents because Alcaraz has also said that he didn't want this to end, right?
Right.
He loved Juan Carlos, and now they're talking about his brother being a bigger part of the team, and like to me, it all has to do with control here, not even money.
That's
Well,
a
that's
great
what's
take.
so weird, right? Is and that's why I'm kind of confused, is because like both sides, like both like, and they're both going to be nice about it, right? I think there's something to be said that's a positive for that for both of them as people, but both of the individuals have like kind of said, like both Carlos and Ferrero have said, oh, we wish this could have continued, which is weird because like then why did it split up, right? So the whole thing is kind of odd. But yeah, I think the Juan Carlos, what's next for Juan Carlos is fascinating because I do think I think he's a really good coach, and it makes a lot of sense given how he was as a player that he'd be a good coach.
Yeah.
I agree.
To coach Jodar.
But it has to be the right person because we saw it didn't work with Zverev, right? But I mean, no one is going to work with Zverev, to be honest. He doesn't trust anyone but his dad. Um, and
I
like,
don't know. I mean, like, are we being a little? I mean, Zverev was still finished. He still finished the year third in the world, right? Are we being a little harsh on Zverev?
it's just so easy to be harsh on Zverev.
Not being harsh on Zverev. Absolutely not. No one has squandered more talent this year than Zverev. Well,
Yeah.
that's not true. I'm just tilting because of the Djokovic loss in the French Open.
You guys agree or disagree with my control take on with the Alcaraz family?
I love it. I've not heard that take, and I think that take from I think that take is very salient. This is the point in young athletes' careers where this kind of starts to become a problem.
Mhm.
Usually it's tied to like a next contract or something in the NBA, for example. But this is a move that kind of doesn't really make sense out without that context. So I think that's a really good angle and like really helps to solve things. And the things that will come out in the next 6 to 12 months, I think will involve a lot of that. I think that's a great take, Manny. Jealous
All right.
I think it's one of the more interesting takes I've heard. I'll give you that.
for sure.
I don't know if I don't know if I agree or not, but I think it's it's one of the most interesting takes I've heard. I'll say that it's probably maybe the most interesting take I've heard.
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
very
Let's
jealous.
see what comes out. Let's
I see
I'm
why we
very
want to lead
jealous
with
too
that
because I think it's a yeah, like, it's a truly like interesting and like yeah, truly interesting take.
thank you.
I'm really enjoying. I hope more comes out because I am very interested to understand like yeah what really happened and what both and if there's I'll be interested to hear if there's anything from either side too that they really would have wanted to be different. So
Well, I hope it's honest takes, not just like phony takes to maintain their image. Like
no, I mean I think anything that comes out won't be phony because like if anything would be phony, it would have been the first couple of days of them being like, oh, like we, like them being like, oh, the other side was great and like it wasn't, like I love this and I wish it could continue forever, like that's what I'll be interested to hear if there's anything that either side was annoyed about because I think there's I think there's probably a couple things on both sides that either side could be annoyed about, right? Like there was a fair amount of Carlos being involved in things that probably aren't furthering the goal of being the best of all time. There's stuff on him on Instagram being out partying, yada yada, right? And like I don't know if that would have annoyed Ferrero possibly, So that's my you know that's my under the water take. I'll be interested to hear if
I,
anything comes out about that. And I'll be interested to hear from the Carlos side if he felt like or if Juan Carlos, if there was anything about Juan Carlos wanting to be, because he still has his academy and wanting to be more involved in that and not wanting to travel all the time with
yeah, the
Carlos to every
proximity, but
tournament.
like I'm sure the Alcaraz parents have a lot to do with that academy, right? That Alcaraz runs in Murcia,
Well,
right?
there's that piece too. Yeah, there's that piece too. How they both
So
have their own. Yeah, there's
yeah.
that too.
So yeah, be interesting. Let's move on to the next topic. So, the next gen finals are going on right now. It's just a really hard tournament to bet because of that stupid format with the no ad scoring and the first to four. It's just like something you haven't seen before. But it's interesting to watch these guys, to be honest. So I mean, Lerner is already in the top 30 actually. But I think of the other guys like the Landaluce, the Budkov Kjaers, the Jodars, who had actually an impressive win versus Lerner. Um, Engel, Prizmic. We can add NCAA two-time champion Michael Zheng in there if you want. But
Oh my
like,
god.
which of the which of these guys do you like kind of think has a best chance to like push top 40, top 50 in 2026? I guess Smooth, let's start with you.
Push top 50 in 2026. I guess 10 doesn't count because he's already there. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I really love Dino Prizmic. I mean, I hate to steal the obvious answer off the board, but he came on a little bit at the end of last year with a decent run in Umag, decent showings in some indoor hard tournaments. He's still very young. He has a lot to do, especially on the offensive side of the net. He needs to work on his serve, but I, in my opinion, one of the things that you can tell differentiates really young players, like in terms of like their overall skill, is how they move on the court. Their footwork, there's stuff you can't teach. How quick you can change direction, and this guy Prizmic definitely fits that bill. Haven't seen guys really slide in and out of corners like him, except for very, very, very high end guys. He's super quick, super focused, super consistent. Has all the tools in the world to take off. It's a matter of if he can stay healthy. And that's been an issue for him his whole young career. But I really like him to break out this year. I think
Um,
we should expect some good things at the top. What do
so
you guys think?
before I move on to Brad, I just wanted to ask you how much of that, that Australian Open four-set match a couple of years ago against Djokovic, how much does that change your mindset? Like, if you take that match out of the equation and you just look at everything else that he's done, do you still have the same opinion?
Of Dino of
Yeah,
Prizmic?
of Dino.
Yeah, I actually don't really. I know he took a set off Djokovic at the Australian Open very, very early, but was first round. It must have been first round.
Yeah, it's first round. It's an impressive performance, but I feel like a lot of people weigh that match a lot, and they weigh
Yeah,
it too much.
yeah. No, that's fair. I'm not really weighing that all too much. I was more impressed with his challenger run this year, but I'm honestly when players are this young and this untested at tour level, what I'm looking for, at least qualitatively, is like how they actually look on the court. I'm looking for like in addition to longitudinal results, and I gotta say this kid just looks different on there. Y'all can disagree, but the way this kid moves seems to be, in my opinion, a level above. I'm just looking for raw talent, raw flashes, and if you can put that together, I really like it. I'm not really sure. The fact that
Okay.
he was able to take a set off Djokovic, I think it was a tiebreak set. Was it take a tiebreaker?
It was, but he also had a breakup in the third, like, and he kind of hung with him
Yeah,
for 4.5 hours. It was an impressive performance, no doubt. But like, for other than that, I just haven't seen much. Like, athletically, he's right there, but I think
right.
tactically, he's so far down. Like, he's just he doesn't play smart tennis. Um, like if you have to put, like, using your blender analogy, you got to put him and Lerner TN in a blender, and then I think you get a good player. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. I'll say it like he hasn't done much at a tour level yet. That's true, but he's how old is he? He's 20, so he's not that young. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think we are approaching a breakout though. This was kind of the first year in a while I think he's had. Like how many matches did he play in 2024? Did he have a full season?
Yeah, he played a lot on the Challenger Tour, but every time he played someone kind of in the top 80, it felt like he lost.
No.
31 matches in 24, and at least at Challenger or Tour level, 44 in 25. So
Okay.
not a ton, although I don't know, like, was he playing? I'm assuming Prismic was not playing Futures. I'm assuming by 24 he was full-time Challenger at least. But 30 matches is not a lot. I definitely agree with Smooth on the health thing being an issue. Yeah.
And
It's
I
a
think
big
his
issue
health
and like
is
you can't get a momentum. But sorry to cut you off, Manny. But
no
like
problem.
this year when he was healthy, I mean he tore through the Challenger Tour this year. I forgot how many matches he won consecutively, but there was a gross number as we approached Umag.
Mm.
I remember thinking he was more than live, and then there was going to be I'm just coming back to me. There's going to be a fatigue issue, but I don't know. I really wish he would have done better at next gen. I think he was hugely disappointing. in what I watched. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think is most likely to break out?
Well, with Dino, I think like the reason why he has trouble physically is because he's very poor tactically, so like he just makes matches way more physical than they need to be almost.
Yeah,
And I think that's not really a sustainable level, especially, playing on the tour is even more physical. Um, so I mean, I really like Blockx, actually. I've kind of been impressed with him. Really good forehand, good serve. I think he can be better on quicker courts. But to be honest, I think Jodar has a higher ceiling but a lower floor right now, and I think that like I prefer him than say a Landaluce or an Engel if you want to compare to
100%.
those guys. But uh,
100%.
I mean, I would say Blocks, but like to be honest, I'm not really impressed with any of these guys. I'll be I'll
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I don't know. I think that I mean definitely smooth. I think that to me Prizmic was kind of the obvious one, and that I mean you said it really well. Like he does like all the stuff that Prizmic doesn't do well is stuff that like you would expect a young kid not to do well. He's kind of like
Exactly.
he's the proverbial like young kid who's like looking for a breakout. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but like it's there. I think the guy who's kind of impressed me all year has been Kjaer. I remember watching Davis Cup when he lost both matches, but being very impressed by him for a guy who started. And obviously his ranking shot up now; he's in the top 150. But he's a guy that to me, has a pretty good runway to improve, especially on the quicker surfaces. So yeah, I think for me that was the guy that I was that's kind of a guy I'm intrigued by.
Yeah. Yeah, Kjaer has been good. I think Landaluce is actually the worst of these guys. I just think the guy's way too erratic.
It's
Um,
insane. It's insane how erratic he is. He can go on insane hot streaks, but I used to be really high on Landaluce, and that has cooled
yeah.
to a frigid space. But you're right, he's so erratic. Kjaer that was a good shout. Blocks is so good. Who do you think's gonna win? Do you think Blocks can upset Tien this
I
in
don't think so.
45
Not
minutes?
not from a tactical perspective.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I just don't know how much I like the next gen is to me is like to me it's at the bottom of my like level of it. Like it's almost a tournament that I just throw out. Like I just think it's like when you combine the scoring system, it's also like these guys haven't played a real match in 6 weeks, and now they're coming back. Or I guess some of them maybe have because the Challenger Tour does continue in December. I don't know. Like some of these guys probably played Challengers, some didn't. I really haven't been tracking much over the past month, but it's a really really strange tournament. So to me, it's one that I tend to kind of throw it out. I guess it could be, yeah, for me. Like it's to me, it's at least throw out the results. Like the qualitative piece might be interesting, but I tend to throw out the results.
Yeah, I didn't play it, but like from a value perspective, I saw Lerner at plus 230 after losing the first match to Jodar, and like I thought that had good value. I kind of wish I played it now, looking back. Um, but yeah,
I also wonder because they played on that weird court, right? Like they played on like the court without the doubles alleys, right?
yeah, but
right.
Are they
that
still
doesn't
doing that? I wonder if that does matter. I want because like to me that would mentally get in my head. Like I've played a couple of times on courts like that, and it's always annoyed me.
100% gets in my head every time I played on a court like that.
Like I feel like the court's smaller than it is when it looks like that. And I wonder I feel like because for these guys can't play on courts like that very often.
No, I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they don't. Yeah. Yeah, it's a crappy tournament. Let's be real. But at least there's tennis on. Uh,
That's true. That's big time true.
yeah. All right, let's go on up to our next segment. So when we talk about guys, we like to add a gambling twist. So we like to kind of compare players to another player or use betting lines to enhance the conversation. So we'll play a game of like who will be ranked higher at the end of 2026. And we can actually, if there are disagreements, we can keep track and kind of see how we do at the end of the year. I think that's a cool thing to do. So the first one is Shelton Medvedev. So Brad, let's start with you.
Yeah, this one's really tough for me because this is two guys who showed a like Shelton in August, right? Shelton had a really good August and showed what like the potential is there. And then Medvedev had a really good back half, really good last couple months after he changed coaches. And I think in both cases you could see the distinct reason, right? Overall, I will go with I'm high on both these guys. I actually think both these guys could end up in the top. I mean, I think both these guys will end up in the top 10.
Mm.
Um, but I'm gonna go with Shelton just because like there's no reason for me to say that Shelton won't improve. And like if he can just get better at the return of serve, like he's really good in every facet of the game, other than I think just that one shot, the return of serve. And we even saw like the tactics from Shelton get better. Like, Smooth, you were talking about Prizmic being a guy who, has everything but like the has all the stuff you'd want a young kid to have. I feel like Shelton is just like Prizmic 2 years forward with a ton more explosiveness, right? Just like a different level of athlete, but 2 years forward in terms of like, is he fully developed tactically yet? Not sure, but it like you can definitely see the trajectory going upwards. I still think the partnership with his dad in the box is going well. Am I sure that he should have been up for Coach of the Year? Not sure about that, but I still think it's going well. So yeah, I'll go with Shelton. I think this one to me is pretty straightforward, but I'm high on both guys.
Okay. How about you, Smooth?
Yeah, I agree with Brad here. I also think it's Shelton. I think coming into the US Open, there was I don't have the stats in front of me, but there was a very clear trend line from watching of Ben getting better and better and becoming more and more complete. It wasn't always pretty, but he was more patient. He seemed a lot more disciplined and responsible on return, especially. Really caring for points. I think I have to give a little bit of flowers to Brian because I thought that Brian had taken him to where he was capable of going at the end of 24, and Ben still took a step forward. And I think that injury to his shoulder, which we still don't know what it was exactly, was I just derailed the whole season. It's kind of hard to take anything from the results after that.
Completely agreed with that, and it's easy to like. It's easy to forget too. Like it was only 1 month. Like there was only 1 month post shoulder, of results that were saying like because October was terrible for him.
Terrible.
But it was like it's very like I know he said he didn't come back too early, but it's very possible he did.
Yeah, he did or he didn't. Like I think either way, it definitely cost him momentum and rhythm. And tennis is a sport of form, and like form, pervades different tournaments, and it's a long term thing. Um, on the other hand, I think with all the improvement we saw from Shelton over the last year, I thought we saw a similar decline in Medvedev, at least until he switched coaches. More on that in a second, but I'm just not seeing. What I think what happened with Medvedev is he lost a key edge. It might have just been a couple percentage points on service points won, but a key edge on his first serve. It's just not as scary anymore. It's not as consistent anymore. And if he's not able to hold serve as easily, which he's not, he becomes a much less menacing player. That coupled with, I think, some athletic declines, it looks like to me, changing coaches, whatever. Like speaking of coaches, we didn't speak about the GOAT Basa already in the next gen segment. Speaking of, I'm just not sure a new coach is going to recover that. And I know is the current coach Thomas Johansson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know he's a more attacking minded coach, and I know that we saw some early results from the end of the year, but I mean, you guys know it's really hard to read into results after the U.S. Open. I mean, freaking Vachereau just won the Masters in that time frame. So I think that Medvedev's optimism on Medvedev is a little bit too propped up by the end season result. But I mean, like, what did Medi do this year against top 20 players? I think he used to be borderline a machine against them, and he went, geez, just 6-5 this year. Not great. So, and
Yeah.
all of them except for Holly after the U.S. Open. So,
So I'm actually in disagreement with you guys. I would take Medvedev here pretty convincingly. I think Shelton, like obviously I like what he did this year, but I don't think the results in slams that he had this year are easily replicatable going into next year. Like semifinal of Australia, um, quarters at Wimbledon, and round of 16 at the French. Like I would expect those results actually to decline. I know he's improving as a player, but as you get better at the sport, it gets harder and harder to improve. And I actually kind of took a different takeaway from the injury. Like the fact that his game regressed that much from like the injury, like and kind of regressed to where he was before that good run in August, kind of tells me that he's not there developmentally yet. Like he can't rely on tactics to win him matches yet. It's more just pure athleticism. So I still think he has a lot to improve in that aspect. And from a Medvedev perspective, I think he has a lot of room to improve. Like last year was by far the worst year of his career. I think the coaching change, I think a couple months off will do him a world of good. And I think with Medvedev, the reason for his decline is that he just wasn't mentally there. He wasn't willing to fight through matches and fight through adversity and kind of grind his way through matches. And like I think he has to get that fire back. And I think he should get it back at some point. I don't think he's going to be like where he was in 2020, 21, but I do think he trended in the right direction at the end of the year there. Um, so also Medvedev has had I think first round losses in the last three slams. So any improvement there is going to drastically increase his ranking, and like they're not that far apart as we speak. So I would put my money on Medvedev if this was a betting line.
you get great
A
odds
bunch of
too.
little side thoughts. So I guess first regarding Medvedev, like I do think that having I think like for Medvedev, like he doesn't necessarily like for Medvedev. I think it's about like can he attack? Can he play a little bit more of an attacking mindset in terms of where he puts the ball on the court? And I know, Manny, you and I talked about this a lot, but I think when Medvedev was at his best, another thing he did that he didn't do as good of a job of this year is putting the ball in tough places for his opponents to hit. Like if Medvedev puts the ball too much in the middle of the court, he's in real trouble because he doesn't have the power to get away with that.
Yeah.
The ball's got to be like in the corners, and the ball's got to be, and also he has to vary depth better. Like he has to hit balls like more short angle-ish type of shots, like
Yeah.
because he has to keep the ball out of guys' strike zones, and I think like that kind of second or third level of tactics that doesn't get talked about much, because not many guys have it. To be frank, is a really important part of Medvedev's game. And then for Shelton, I think, Manny, you said Shelton's not good enough to win on tactics. I don't know if he's ever going to be. Like,
Right.
I think for Shelton, what I'm asking for is decent enough tactics, like average to below average tactics, such that his freak athleticism can win him matches. Like the tactics don't have to be good; they just have to be like average.
He needs to
But I
not
would
make dumb
have.
mistakes.
What'd you say, Smooth?
I couldn't agree with you more. I was thinking that exact same thing. His tactics don't need to be. He doesn't need to be Leonard Tan out there, but he needs to just limit mistakes and keep it straightforward so his athleticism can
Yeah.
in
Yeah, it's
real
like a
figure.
quarterback who just needs to not throw the ball to the defense. Like,
Exactly.
and another thing with Shelton is we brought up the injury. Like thinking back on it, I actually think that, and I wonder if this is part of why we haven't seen anything come out or haven't seen much come out about the Shelton injury specifically. That's the one thing I'd be concerned about because, like, being a freak athlete, he is putting more pressure on that shoulder than a lot of other guys and probably more torque on his body than a lot of other guys. And he also had been doing the cupping on his shoulder forever, that is probably more of a preventative treatment, but I do wonder if there is more concern about that long term with the shoulder.
It's a good point. That's a
That's a
really
great point. That's a
yeah.
great
No one
point.
talks about that either. I mean, I'm looking at his return points won percentage in 2025 compared to 2024. It's gone up 0.8% as a whole. Total points won is actually exactly the same. His serve points won went down 1.1%.
The only
I'll
thing
add,
but I think that's probably all that you're talking about, Manny, is
Probably is
probably
October.
that's probably a lot of that is October just being absolutely horrid.
I
Not
think
horrid,
that
but October not being good.
I would also bet that he's going deeper into draws this year than last year, so he's playing more difficult opponents, such that those numbers might be depressed. But I guess that's probably far in
I mean,
future.
his tiebreak percentage also went up 27 to 20, 27 and 21 this year. Last year was 24 and 27.
That's big.
Yeah, a few more things in a couple different directions there. The other thing is I thought that, something that was a huge to me was a huge accomplishment of Shelton's earlier in the year. And I know it's at altitude, but making the finals of Munich and beating Cerundolo, beating Darderi on clay, like for Shelton, who like you wouldn't expect that out of, like that's like that I think that's a feather in
Yeah,
his
but
cap.
those were dog wins. Those weren't game wins. Those were dog wins. Like he just kind of pulled a rabbit out of the hat because the other guy choked.
I mean, he beat Darderi 4-3. I don't know that that was a dog win, and Darderi's a very good clay player. Um, I just
Oh, there was
I
another
think like
win in that tournament, which was a pure dog win. I think the first round match
yeah, I mean he
against
got kind of lucky to be point of go. Yo,
Dojo.
sure,
Yeah.
I agree. But like so that was one point, but I mean, um, another point on Shelton is like with the whole slams thing. Like this has been a thing with Shelton for I think 3 years now that he's played like better in slams and better in big matches. I'm not sure that that's not a semi-intentional. Like he might be somebody who preps more for like who kind of thinks more in that way that like okay, here are the bigger tournaments and this is where I need to be better, as opposed to some guys who are playing. Most guys on the tour are probably playing the calendar as like I'm trying to do as well as I can and training to do as well as I can every match.
Well, comparing him to Medvedev, don't you think Medvedev trains in the same way? Maybe not last year, but before that.
I don't think that. I think Medvedev. I don't know that I would agree with. I don't think Medvedev is training for slams. Like it's more possible in my mind that Shelton is training specifically more to do well in slams and big tournaments. And it's not like I'm not saying he's taking the court and doesn't care about the 250s and 500s, but I'm saying the training program might not be designed to peak at those
I mean,
points.
Shelton also has a tremendous amount of dog, right? Like
Who they both
he's
have a lot of dog.
not Medvedev this year, so that's why I'm saying like if Medvedev increases that dog like 10% this year, I feel like he can be back to a way higher level. That's what he lost this year more than anything, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and I agree. And I'm looking up something right now, but to your point, Manny, so Shelton's return points won, serve points won percentage on break points,
Yeah.
109 in 2025, 107 in 2024, and 107 in 2023. So like this is like his essentially his entire career. He's been really like he's been good on the key points, Shelton. And I think there might be something to that too. I just like I don't know, man. It's funny because like I don't like Shelton's style is not one that I traditionally love in a player. I'm more a fan of like the grinder guys, but like everything about the dude, like and like the way he acts on the court annoys me because I'm more of a traditionalist. But like it's really hard to not like
Yeah,
respect what the guy does.
I agree. I agree. I mean,
Uh,
really fun to watch.
no. Um, couple things I want to add here. Medvedev turns 30 in February. Shelton just turned 23. I think that keeping their age in context is important in this discussion. Shelton's entering his
Fair.
tennis prime. I think, and I suspected that rankings thing. I want to say Shelton's improvement Like, man, I hear I hear how the numbers haven't really changed, and like I've heard this elsewhere, and I'm getting ready to defend my guy. But in 2024, Ben played an opponent with an average ranking of 80. In 2025, Ben played an opponent with an average ranking of 57, which is good for the 11th hardest schedule among the top 50 players. So I think I think did you see a similar split with median as well? This year the median ranking was 42. Last year it was 56. So Ben's playing harder players and getting better. And I think you're also seeing him get better on other surfaces. I think we're primed for a breakout.
Okay. I mean,
I
my
think, like I said, I think that ironically the biggest concern I have with Shelton is actually health. Weirdly enough, for a guy who's 23, if there was a concern that I had with Shelton, it would be like, is the shoulder problem going to be an issue like
It's a
longer
great
term?
take.
and he also just throws himself around the court. Like he never lets a ball go.
He's physically diving. You're
Yeah.
100% right. And like health, such a good salient point because blend both of y'all's points, like his tactics aren't there. And if he loses even 5% of his athleticism, like I don't know what kind of player Ben is. Like if Ben's kick serve isn't a top 5% kick serve anymore,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. That's a big, big problem for him. Like even the top 10% kick serve is different. So
I'm not low on Shelton
it's a
like
good angle.
some people like John from the MP9 pod. He kind of reiterated similar points that I did. I'm not quite as low on Shelton as he is per se, but I just think this is more Shelton has kind of more room to regress and Medvedev has more room to grow
Hmm.
this year, and that's kind of where my take originates. But I don't know.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one. Tsitsipas or Berrettini. I think this is a fascinating one. Um, Tsitsipas has really regressed. It feels like he has other career ventures in store. But you know, he's out of the what top 40 now. What's his ranking?
34.
34. All right. And then Berrettini, he's a guy that I would say has a higher ceiling than Tsitsipas at this point, but has a lot of health issues. And can he play enough? So I think these are two guys to kind of are fun to compare and contrast. Um, I guess Smooth. Let's start with you with this one. Who do you think will have a better 2026?
I'm gonna go with Berrettini on the sheer thought that I just think Steph's done. I know he's only 27, but the year over year regression at this point has been ridiculously loud. He's 4 matches above 500 this year. 34 still feels candidly a little friendly. Um,
Those points will go away after Dubai. Don't worry.
yeah, I think he beat Teeny in Dubai. I believe, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I
he did.
believe
Yeah.
I lost money on that match because, of course, I did. And then I think I lost money fading Steph every match that tournament.
That was a
So,
bad team for you too.
so just let me say that before I continue my massive fade on Steph here. But um, I don't know. I just think he's done. When you're switching rackets and blacking them out, and this thing with your dad, it's just all bad. Um, and I'm just like not really seeing where he's going to grow as a player. He would need to become much more consistent, but with more consistency, he needs to take off his aggression. And if he loses his aggression, he's nothing. So I think the motivation's gone. Uh, I think he's realized that he will never win a slam. And I think when you get that close to something and realize that you're never going to get it, that affects your motivation and psyche in a totally different way. He went from I'm competing for French Opens to like I guess I guess I'll play them in the round of 16 and we'll see how it goes. I I don't know, man. It's been a sad downfall for someone whose game I really admired. I really loved that forehand, and I just don't see it for him. What do you guys think?
Manny, you can go ahead because I have a
Sorry, I didn't
thought
even
here.
talk about Teeny. I didn't even talk about Teeny. Sorry, let me go back. I love Berrettini, but like, it's just health for him. I think if he's healthy, he's a top 20 player in the world. If he's not healthy, he's playing on protected ranking or are building back up. And uh, whatever chances are that Berrettini's healthy, I like better than Steph figuring everything out. So sorry, now I'll
And
digress.
there's nothing I can add. You said exactly what I was thinking. Nothing to add. That's exactly my take. So Brad, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I'm actually on the other side of this. I actually think Tsitsipas. Well, I think that Tsitsipas I'll take Tsitsipas here. I think that for Tsitsipas, and I'm just pulling up the stats again now, but I looked at this before. So Tsitsipas on break points this year, service points won, return points won percentage 97 this year, which is horrid. 110 in 2024, which wasn't a great year for him, if you remember. We were kind of all down even on Tsitsipas at the end of 2024, saying he couldn't play on fast courts anymore. But his ranking kind of stayed high because of that. That was probably kind of lucky. And then Tsitsipas, and then 104 in 2023. So like a 97 to be below average on serve points won, return points won, on break points is really weird. Against top 50 guys this year, Tsitsipas was only 12-9, but he did have a serve points won, return points won of 104, which was actually better than 2024. So I don't know that Tsitsipas has to necessarily get I think he kind of had I think in addition to all the issues, he also had some really, really bad variance. Do I think he's going to get back to the top 10? No. But I do think if he plays at the same level, or he can get back to the top 20 relatively easily. Not relatively easily, but I think he could get back to the top 20 if he plays at roughly the same level. His serve stats are still pretty good, both first and second serve. When he's attacking, he still is a pretty good player. The backhand's a problem, but it's always been a problem. And defensively, really the only time he gets really crushed by that backhand being so bad is on first serve returns. Mm-hmm. The problem is Smooth is all the qualitative stuff you said is all true. So I'm not sure that his actual the floor is bad because his whole mentality could just fall apart, and everything mental coming out of the Tsitsipas camp just seems bad after bad after bad after bad after bad. But if he can find some confidence early in the year, there is some slow. I don't know what his schedule is going to look like. Maybe he'll change up his schedule a little bit early in the year too, specifically in February. If he plays more of the slower events in February, where I think he is a better player now, if he can play more of the slower events in February and rack up some wins and get some confidence back and get some belief back, I actually do think there's a path for Tsitsipas to get back in the top 20, top 15 even. Flipping over to Berrettini, yeah, it's a question of health. The other thing that's really scary to me in Berrettini is that I think he really needs to be on the natural surfaces, because I just think asking him to play 2-3 hard court matches in a week is really tough. And I feel like you see him on the hard courts, the brittleness is an issue, playing multiple matches in a given week on hard courts. And so he's really got to stay healthy during the clay season. And during the grass season, and that's the question for me is, can he do that? And if he does, in order for his ranking to be great, he's got to play every week, but he can't really. I just don't know that he can play every week health wise at this point. So, and you've covered that already with the health perspective, but that's my thought on Berrettini. So, I'll take Tsitsipas here because I actually think the ceiling and the floor are higher. But yeah, I hear you guys. Everything coming out of the camp and the body language and the activity out of Tsitsipas is really scary. He's got to get some wins early on to get some confidence. I think February and March are going to be huge for him.
Well, I think the reason why he plays those Middle Eastern tournaments in February is because they pay better, and he needs to support his photography ventures.
I mean, I think that's the problem, right? And that's the whole challenge, right? The entire it's a really tough one because it's I'm taking Tsitsipas, but man, is it
well, he might go to jail
so bad, and it could
he continues speeding at 120 miles per hour on residential roads. Didn't he get caught by the cop?
He did, yeah. I can't think of it's a fascinating argument because I can't think of one where for me it's the mentals on one guy are so much better, but the physicals on the other guy are so much better in my mind.
It's a great
I'd way rather have the physicals of Tsitsipas. The other thing with Tsitsipas too is that like we've generally seen Tsitsipas as being a pretty fit player and a pretty mentally tough player during matches, I think. It's more just for me, it's more like the mentals in between matches and the mentals, like the overall confidence for Tsitsipas that's been an issue in the past.
I don't
So
think it's the mental, like the focus. I think it's the emotional state that fluctuates, right? And I
well, I don't
think
know that I mean, I just think like the whole last 9 months for Tsitsipas, the emotional state has been terrible. And I just think like he could be burned out. Like
yeah.
it's this debate is fascinating for two reasons. First, you've got one guy whose mentals, like Berrettini's mentals are off the charts. And he's just a little bit fragile. Whereas like for Tsitsipas, the emotionals are poor, but the physicals I think are still pretty good. And then also you've got a guy who yeah, like that was my thought.
I also think Tsitsipas is very stubborn in how he approaches tennis matches. And I think that doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's like very steadfast and like he's got to rip the backhand. He's got to attack he's got to do this. He's got to like attack the net and like any kind of variation in tactics is a negative to him.
This is
I think
exactly
that's
why.
tough. Well, go ahead,
Yeah.
Smooth.
No, yeah, this is exactly the issue. This just is one of the issues with why he needs his dad as a coach. He's entirely unreceptive to playing a different way and growing as a player.
Yeah.
And is my mic working? Has it been working
Yeah.
this time? Okay,
Yep.
yeah. And it's catching up to him, honestly. Like, cause he started off, I don't know, tennis. A lot of people think like tennis is a game of decline, like players decline, but really it's, I think, a matter of players stopping getting better, and Steph has just stopped getting better, and the game is past him. The Berrettini point, I want to touch on it really quickly, that because you mentioned him on natural surfaces, and I think that's so brilliant. Like I think he should. He was in Dubai as well, and I think he should rather not play tennis than play the Middle Eastern hardcourt swing. Both these guys went to the Golden Swing. It's not going to happen. I don't think Steph's ever played in South America, but if it did happen, it would be the best things for both their careers. They both need.
I feel so dumb
that.
because I forgot. I love the Golden Swing, and I completely forgot. That's what Steph should do in February. Is play. He should play the Golden Swing.
Yeah, that's what they do instead. Exactly.
They both should, but Steph really should to get the confidence back up, because like that is a weak, like, look, the Golden Swing is weak, is probably the weakest straws out there as a swing of the calendar. He could, and it's also great matchups for him. Like he could go smash guys like Ugo Carbei. Like he could go, like he matches up really well with a lot of these clay quarters, a lot of these South American clay quarters. He could go smash those guys up in the month of Feb, get some confidence back, and then maybe all of a sudden like the emotional stuff starts to feel a little bit better like that. But I don't know that he will, because like I don't know that he really wants to go to South America.
Plus,
it's a rough ask.
Sports are dirt slow, right? Which he needs to help like have more time on his backhand, right? His big swing paths. So
yeah.
But it's also like, Manny, if you talk about too, like we've talked about this for a while now with Steph, is the matchup for him is so important because, Smooth, to your point, he only plays one way. And I think it's because he can't, like, I think like the backhand is just like I don't know how he plays a different way at this point, because the backhand would have to get more consistent, and I just don't like, that's a huge ask for him, for that backhand to get more consistent. Like I don't know, like
it's an unwillingness to improve, like maybe slight. I don't know. He still hasn't developed a slice. So
it's insane that he doesn't have. It's insane that he doesn't have a lethal slice forehand. I think he's 27 backhand. Sorry,
yeah.
It makes me angry thinking about how much talent he's wasted. Because that would change if he had a consistent backhand slice that was rally proof. Like that would fundamentally elevate his ceiling, and that's one of the. I mean, it's not easy, but that's one of the more straightforward shots to learn, especially if you have a one hand. I'm very frustrated. I hate when players waste talent like that.
And it's also something like where he actually is really good at moving forward, and he's really good at attacking. And like a slice is a great shot to like come forward off of. Like a slice would fit really well into his game. And yeah, I mean, like it's maddening. It's absolutely
Yeah.
maddening that he's never developed that. That's a great point, Smooth. And
Just
like it's just like
just
it just
watch some Roger Federer tape. I mean, like, is it really that hard? I don't know.
well, like just but I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Because to
Like,
me, it's not even the like improving the shot, it's the stubbornness to improve that shot, which is the problem.
Right.
and I feel like that particular like I do think we've seen guys get better at some of the, let's call them non-core shots of tennis more than you like. I don't know what you guys think. Like, how often do you see guys get better at like their standard mid-court forehand during their pro careers, right? I feel like you're like weapons off the ground, like kind of by 18, 19, you kind of have them or you don't. But some of these like non-core shots, slices, shots from weird part of the courts, drop shots, like I've seen more guys implement those in their game. Maybe because they don't need to be as good, where like everybody has a pretty good like basic shot off of both wings.
That's I can hit a slice in the drop shot, but I can't hit a backhand.
Me too.
I
No,
wish I had that problem, Brad.
Brad, it's a good point. It's a good point, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing it talked about at least now. But like adding variation to your game is really really important. Otherwise, you become a very static player, and that's exactly what Steph has become. The way to beat Steph has been the same his entire professional career. You target the one-handed backhand, you
Yeah.
open the court, you force the air. It's insane that he's done nothing to patch
I
that.
also have another take on this, especially for right-handed players. I think the worst problem to have is that exact problem because like when you're a junior, right? If you're trying to win matches as a 10-year-old kid, I can hit to the backhand. Like even when I'm playing like tournaments, like if it's not going well for me, but the first thing I try to do automatically is I'm going to try to hit more balls to this guy's backhand because like 80% of guys, especially right-handers, where like you kind of know that coming in, like or not know that coming in, but where like that's a normal shot to hit to that side of the court to hit to their backhand. Like 90% of players at any level have a worse backhand than forehand. So like not only is it's like a very easy thing to attack, it's a very natural thing to attack, etc. Whereas like if you're a guy like Fritz who struggles at the net, like how many guys like recognize, are able to react to, are able to implement like the tactic of bringing a guy forward, right? Whereas like almost everyone can implement the tactic of hit more to the backhand.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, that's why
Exactly.
Sinner has, is the where he is because of that willingness to make adjustments. He said it right after the US Open, right? Like, I'm too predictable. I need to change. Obviously, I think he has a better ability to improve that than Tsitsipas, but I think it's also that willingness to get better at that allows him to.
It's not just Sinner. It's I mean going back to Shelton. Shelton added a slice backhand to his game this year, and it paid very big dividends for him. Especially on the natural surfaces.
Good point.
Like this is just adding ways to change the tempo, seize more control of a point is pivotal. And
Es-
if we keep talking about Steph, I'm gonna have a heart attack. But like,
especially in a sport where like, Manny, you and I talk about this all the time. Like 2 points a set takes you from like, I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. I used to actually remember this, but like 2 points a set takes you from like 60 to like 20 in the world. Like it's such an even sport where like, and that's where that variety is so important. If you can find a way to steal like a drop shot, a slice backhand with an approach with coming into the net, like it doesn't need to be something that you hit all the time. It's just a way to find 2 points a set.
Yeah, seriously. All right, enough Sissipas. Let's do one more of these. It's getting a little long. I think this is a fascinating one. Moutet or Rinderknech, two Frenchmen. Um,
oh God.
yeah, I mean, I think both of these guys kind of overachieved a little bit this year. I'm curious to see which ones you think would regress more. Uh, and they have different games. Rinderknech is more the serve plus one, kind of the attacking guy, whereas Moutet is that crafty guy who no one likes to see in their draw just because he'll just make life hell for you. Talking about variation, that guy's all variation. So I guess Smooth, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I'm not fond of either of these players to tell you the honest truth. Um, kind of think the answer though is going to be Rinderknech. I would have liked to say Moutet, but I think what we saw with Arthur Rinderknech starting, when did this start? After Wimbledon, I guess, is when his season turned around, or I guess maybe starting like in the grass season. Yeah, starting in the grass season. I think it's sustainable. I think his serve has become much more reliable. Um, Forehand has become, as you said, a weapon. Like players are having to avoid it. And at this point, it's just too many consistent results. And I know it's during this time of the year where it's whatever, but I'm just kind of seeing him waltz his way into a top 30, top 40 spot. Mute, I know he had a good year. Um, I'm not super fond of his game, and I kind of think as more people like as he gets more reps with players at tour level, like they're gonna figure out his shenanigans. I think he got a lot of guys this year just by virtue of like never facing them before. Alex Mickelson is a good example. Um, I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm not thrilled on either of these guys. I'm hoping someone has a strong opinion.
For me, I think, oh, man, it's a tough one. One thing with Moutet though is that he's gotten a lot more professional this year.
Yeah,
You know, we talk about Bublik getting way more professional this year. I think Moutet also deserves some flowers in that when it comes to that perspective. I just think it's going to be hard. He has a very limited ceiling, Moutet. Um, his serve, I mean, he's like 5'6". Like I don't think his serve can get that much better. I do think his backhand needs to improve. He has to be able to inject a little bit more pace instead of just slice it every time. Like I think also physically that's going to take a toll because he's just running for his life on every point, it seems like. Um, Rinderknech, I feel like he has a bigger upside, but his backhand is just so bad and so
so bad,
inconsistent.
dude.
It's just, I mean, that's the difference between him and Vachereau. Like that's
Yep.
why Vachereau beat him twice because his backhand is just better. It's just that simple. Um, so these guys' ceiling is limited. Mute will be better on the slower surfaces, Rinderknech on the faster surfaces, but I think as a whole, I would give the slight edge to Rinderknech here. How about you, Brad?
Yeah, I would go Rinderknech here. For me, Manny, I don't know if you remember, like, was it 2024 when Moutet won like 20 something consecutive first sets?
Yep. Yeah.
Because we were always betting his first set money lines. Like
Yeah.
he had this like ridiculous first set, and like but I think that makes sense because like Moutet's always been like this. A, he's a massive problem to play against. B, like he's always been like I think he like I don't know how much better Moutet's going to get as a tennis player. And I think like what the problem with Moutet, man, and you hit on the head was like not being professional. Okay, he's done that. He's become a warrior. He's become really really professional. What else is he going to do?
Mhm.
Like the serve's not getting better. He's 5'6". Like it's just not. Like he's just not going to get that angle to get much better on the serve. So like what does Moutet like? I don't think it's going to get that much worse for Moutet because I do kind of disagree with you, Smooth, on the shenanigans piece or on the like the guys having not seen him before because I think we're at a stage of the tour where like because of the nature of tennis, the technology, the way the game's played now, I think the way the surfaces are too has something to do with this also. But I think that 70% of these guys like aren't particularly great at the net, aren't particularly great at moving forward. Don't we like we don't see the variety in tennis that we did 10, 20 years ago. It's
Yeah.
just like it's not like you have to be able to hit big snap like in order to succeed. So now what we have is a game of 90% big hitters. So I don't think that Mute's going to have that issue of guys having seen him before because I don't really think that like I also don't know how much guys change their game for like one player outside of the top few guys, right? Like Alcaraz might make changes to beat Sinner, and Sinner might make changes to beat Alcaraz. But other than that, like all these guys have a lot more to deal with than one player. So I don't think anybody's changing their game to beat Moutet. Um, but I don't like. I just don't see what Moutet like the part. Like I don't see what Moutet does at this point to get like. Yes, there are small things he can do to improve, but like relative to the rest of the tour, what does he really do to improve? Like the big issue was controlling your emotion, mentality, professionalism, and he's gotten way better with that. Flip it over to Rinderknech. I mean, Rinderknech's got a lot of talent. Like he's one of the better what do you want to call it? Like stunt shot guys on the tour, right? Like he can he can make all the shots. The backhand's a massive issue, but we did see it get better. I think we saw small improvements, incremental but important improvements in pretty much every area of his game, including coming forward, including like at the net. So I'll say Rinderknech because of that. Like I think like there's more room for Rinderknech to get better, whereas I don't think there's as much for Moutet to get better. I think Moutet's kind of capped out at this point
Rinderknech was
relative to the tour.
he was my bulldog of the year. He's the player I made
The other piece with Rinderknech, I think too, to bring up Manny is, and the other piece with these guys you got to think about is Rinderknech's results were so much better in the second half of the year. His ranking should improve throughout the first half of the year just by, even if his game doesn't improve, just by virtue of where his points are to defend. So he should get better draws as the year progresses. And I think like, even if these guys play at a similar level, you'll probably see Rinderknech ranked higher just because of that fact.
Fair point. Fair point. All right.
Then again, will Moutet be smart enough to go play Golden Swing and steal points there again? So there's that aspect of it there.
That's true. All right, so let's move on to a different segment. So kind of what we'll I'll give a player out, and we'll kind of discuss where we expect them to land in ranking at the end of the year, in what realm. So I guess let's start with Tiafoe, a guy that was on the Andy Roddick pod and basically mumbled his way through that through that show. I don't think he said anything worthy, but he also played Alcaraz in a exhibition in Newark, and like everyone went crazy and thought that Tiafoe is now Arthur Ashe because he beat him in an exo.
That exo is something that like I'm laughing about that because like all of my buddies are like, oh, are you going to the Tiafoe Alcaraz exo? Like you really should go. It's only $20. Like you should really like you got to go to this, man. Like how can you be a tennis fan and a tennis podcaster and not go to this event? And I was just like, it's an exo. I don't care. Like I'm not like these guys. Like I feel like if you're a better in these exos, like the way if you bet these exos, you should just bet the over like the over sets.
100%.
So I feel like all these exos go to third set tie breaks. So that's my soapbox there, not as a player. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't have a good feel for Tiafoe. Where did he finish the year? Like in the mid 20s?
30.
30?
He finished 30. I mean, I have a take on Tiafoe. I think he's in big trouble here. Almost I kind of just think he's done. If I had to set a like line, I'd probably set it at like 45.5 for over under his ranking. He is defending quarterfinals points at Roland Garros that I do not expect him to be able to defend. And once he drops those, we're looking at a dark situation where the next best result on the board is the Houston final where he lost to Brooksby, followed by the Washington quarterfinals. So really, it gets really dark really quickly. There's nothing about Francis's game in the past 2 years that suggests a bounce back is coming. He's kind of fit into the same bucket as some of the other players we've talked about who've just stopped getting better. And in Francis' case, I actually think he's regressed and gotten worse. So I don't know if it's a matter of focus. I don't know if there's a secret injury. I don't know if he's lost his motivation, but I don't know if it's just more film on him now. But I'm not high on Francis and continue. I from a betting POV, I expect the market to continue to overvalue him. And we'll be looking to fade him routinely throughout 2026.
Yeah, he said on his pod that Alcaraz and Sinner are not unbeatable. Well, let's focus on beating like Alex Mickelson first, Like,
That's my thing. That after the clowns comment last year,
yeah.
like it is. I can't think of a guy, and I don't actually blame Tiafoe for this. I blame half the media, but like it is, and it's been this way for a year and a half now, and I think we all know why. It's because he's got a great story, but like is as Americans, like he's just the definition of overhyped.
Yeah. No.
Like you would think he's a top five guy the way he gets talked about, and like the way he thinks. Like he made the counter up beating clowns, and it's like you are one of the clowns. Like what are you talking about?
Driving
Like
the
he's a
clown car.
500. Like he's. I mean, the last 2 years he's 59 and 50. Like
Oh,
you are an average player. Like that's what you are. You're basically winning. You're winning every other match. Like to be talking about anybody as a clown is not like it's honestly it's inappropriate. Like it's amazing. You don't hear any of the other top players talk about this. And a lot of the time, like all the top players who have the hype that Tiafoe does have way better records the last 2 years.
has he hired a coach?
Okay, so if you're doing an over/under on ranking, like a ranking comparison, Tiafoe or Corda at the end of 2025? I just kind of made that spontaneously.
Corda, it's not even close for me. It's easy Corda.
Okay.
I don't even like Corda, but I like him more than Tiafoe.
I probably go Corda too. Wow, you're really low on Tiafoe Smooth. Really,
Oh,
really.
I'm crazy, crazy, crazy low. Like I think he's like I'm probably going to fade him in almost literally every match in 2026.
Okay.
I don't have the
Interesting.
advanced numbers just yet, but I really expect to see some big regression
Yeah.
once I have them.
Yeah, everyone said during the EXO with Alcaraz, it's like, oh, he's looking fitter than ever. Or like, what are you talking about? Alcaraz was just literally tapping the ball. Like, I mean, Alcaraz didn't try at all. You could tell.
Dude, it's an exhibition.
Yeah.
Like they're there to put on a show, and Carlos knows that better than literally anyone in the history of
Yeah.
tennis. So, okay, that's probably a little bit of hyperbole, but I haven't thought
I'm
about
not
it as
sure you're
much.
wrong. I do think that Carlos definitely trends on the showmanship aspect of the sport.
He loves it, dude.
Like
He loves it.
he does definitely understand, and it's why it's so important for tennis that Carlos is successful because like Carlos does understand where we like. I don't know if he does if it's just his personality or if it's a true like second level thinking on his part, but he understands more than anyone. Like whereas this is going to be a little bit of a soapbox thing, but whereas a society we are on individual sports and athletes, like we were just coming off a weekend where I think the Jake Paul fight was like maybe the highest watched fight of the year, and it was a guy who's like a guy who frankly for a boxer is for the level of fights he gets as a clown against a guy who's way overrated in Joshua, and but like that's where we are as sports where like it's like if you're going to be an individual athlete, you have to build up a name in order for people to watch you. You have to have more than just a game.
If Conor McGregor came back and fought a UFC fight, that fight would get more hype than anything else.
Right. And
No.
and and Alcaraz really, I think, understands that in a way that like I don't know if Sinner doesn't understand that or just doesn't care. But like you have to generate show to like get casual people to watch
I
you.
don't think I think Alcaraz just genuinely enjoys putting on a show for people. I don't think he conceptualizes it like we do in a
I
macro.
hope he does.
I
I
don't
hope
think
he does from
I hope
like
he
a,
does.
I
Maybe
care about
with
the
age, but I
sport.
don't think he thinks that way now.
I do think it's great for the sport that we have someone as talented as him who cares about showmanship
Yeah,
for sure. But I think I think this dude just loves doing things that are incredible because why wouldn't he?
agreed. Agreed. I mean,
So
Getting
Tiafoe.
back to TFL, I am I think I'm probably lukewarm on Tiafoe because I don't love the points to defend argument because like the opposite side of the points to defend is points to pick up, right? And like if TFO can play at even a decent level, like there are points to pick up, you know, there are points to pick up on the calendar, right? Let's put it that way. Like Australian Open second round, like he can find a round or two there pretty easily. Um, didn't play the indoor hard in October at all. There's points there. Like,
But wait. Let's talk about. I just kind of want you to do this to talk about it. So let's talk about the like. Would you take Marozan or Tiafoe in the Australian
Oof.
at pick 'em odds?
Oof.
oh, I take Tiafoe.
You take Tiafoe.
Yeah,
What about at minus 150?
that's probably where somewhere you're now it's getting close. Now it's getting closer. Probably like that's probably close to the right line.
Okay, so we're saying there's like a 54% chance that Marozan beats that he picks up points at the Australian. I just think it's a
Yeah.
helpful exercise to like talk about where
Yeah.
he is in the world.
And Marjan is ranked 51. So are you really that lukewarm on Tiafoe? Or it's Luke Cold? I think you're more Luke Cold on Tiafoe.
Me or Smooth?
You.
Me? No, I think like if I just said his ranking, I would probably do it at like 30 to 35, which is probably lower than where the market puts it, but I know it's not as low as Smooth, is kind of my point.
Okay, I'm in the middle. I'm like 40 to 45. So and Smooth, you're at like what, 45 or 45 to 50?
I think it would be very lucky. I think I would set it at like 45 and a half.
But I would put another question out to both you guys. Like for Tiafoe, outside of outside of just pure hype, like what does he do well that we love Tiafoe so much?
I can make a good I can make a decent argument here. I know I think a lot of it is pure hype because I don't think he's ever been someone who could legitimately challenge for a slam, and he's consistently posited as the face of U.S. tennis every slam. It's like every Rolex ad is Tiafoe, every Lulu ad is
I
Tiafoe.
don't even think he's that entertaining to watch. I think he's actually quite poor tactically. I think he overuses the touch shots. I think he has an above average backhand, but I think his forehand is a big liability. I think his serve has actually regressed. It hasn't gotten better.
Let me rephrase, I guess. Like, I'm not saying that I think Tiafoe sucks, but like all that stuff you're saying, like, there's a lot of guys who have a couple good strokes. Like I just like what in Tia like if Tiafoe has if the mentals are in play, if he's doing the things he needs to do, like what I guess the question is like it better say like does Tiafoe even have top 10 upside? Like let's talk about it that way because he's hyped as a guy that has like all this upside. Does he even have? I don't understand why he's hyped that way. Because does he even have top 10 upside? Like I see his upside as being capped somewhere in like the mid teens.
Like, there was a time. I mean, there was a time when he burst onto the scene where that backhand was so unorthodox, and it was. I mean, it was extremely well disguised. All the things he could do with it. Um, he was extremely athletic. I mean, now you look at Shelton's and the Alcaraz and the Sinners, and it's like, well, maybe he wasn't that athletic. But at a time, Tiafoe was an extremely athletic um, guy who could get to every shot, who could turn defense into offense. Like there was the bones there, but I stopped getting better. I think he stopped getting better. I don't think the high end talent was ever there. To your point, so he was
But
definitely.
I guess what I'm saying like though, but like we if we look at like the guys that like in the 11 to 15 right now, right? It's Bublik, Ruud, Medvedev, Fokina, and Rune. Like even at like TFO's upside, like was it ever better than like that level of guy? Like I don't know, man. Like my point is like if you look like there's a lot of guys who have and maybe it's also a factor of like I do think like the tour, man, the past 2 or 3 years, maybe it's just because I'm watching it more, but I think these guys 15 to 40, there's a lot of guys right now, young dudes with upside in the 15 to 40.
Yeah, I think now it's tough, but like going back to like 2022 Tiafo, like I think there was an argument that there was hype once upon a time, but I think now
Yeah.
it's just like the product has been proven out that it's not gonna
I mean, I
go.
remember
It's your
Brad,
point. Everyone's climbing up, man.
you
There's
were
a
at my
lot of
house
talent
when we
coming up.
watched Kachanov versus Tiafoe at the Australian Open, remember? And we were like, I think it was Pick'em at the time. It was 2023, and like both of us were all over Tiafoe for like a 3 unit play. And thinking back, our comment was like Tiafoe's a top 10 athlete. I remember clearly, like, or even maybe a top 5 athlete on the tour, and that's why we picked him. But he hasn't improved in that area. I felt like he's gotten lazy because of the hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll say I was a dumber tennis fan 3 years ago than I am now. Like that's when we first started the pod, right?
Good point. Yeah.
But I also think that like, I guess I agree. Like, I guess I'm kind of in between. Like, you guys make good points. Like, I do think there were things he did well. I just think like the tour. I guess it's more of a comment on the tour now. Like, I just feel like I look at a lot. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of stuff really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just going through the rankings and I'm looking at these guys like I'm looking at these guys like 20, 15 to 40, and like there's a lot of guys in the 15 to 4. Like a lot of the guys around Tiafoe are ironically very similar to him.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that like there are things they do that give reason to believe, but like it's just like to be top 10, you've got to be really, really freaking good.
You do.
To the original point, looking at the original question, like where we expect Tiafoe to be, like looking at these rankings, like man, Maha, the guys behind him, Maha, Nakashima, Moutet, Munar, Umber, Mickelson, Sonego, Arthur Fee, Diallo, Burrs, Dimitrov, like this is there's even further back towards the top 100 who are younger. Like this is Tiafoe's caught in a pretty tough spot in the
And those are
rankings.
players that are hungry for that hype that Tiafoe has, right? That
Exactly. Players who aren't paid yet, players who
Yeah.
aren't celebrities, players who aren't in commercials. So like
Yeah.
I like the tour is in a outside of the top 3, the tour is in a very interesting place of parity right now, and Tiafoe is definitely getting swept up in the storm.
I do. Ironically, it is really true that like it is amazing. And like I said, I think maybe it's just education, but I like people get really there's some people who are really negative about the state of tennis, and like it can be kind of frustrating because like the big matches are always the same few guys, or specifically the big matches all include Alcaraz and Sinner, but like outside of the fact that like but I remember like I feel like 10 years ago you had a tier of 4 through 12 where like those like it was the same guys always in the quarters and fourth rounds of slams also. To your point, Smooth, like it is amazing how good the guys in the like in the I would say specifically like the 15 to 50, like how good a lot of these guys are. Like there's a lot of guys who are hungry, young, and have a lot going for them. And it's something that when we talk about the next gen prospect guys below, like I think it's harder than ever to make the top 50.
Yeah,
and like when you talk about a prospect, you're like, oh, he could be a top 20 to top 50 guy. And then you look at like what he has to do to be the top 20. It's like, wow, he's got to really like beat some really good guys to get there.
No doubt.
100%.
No doubt. All right. Well, if we talk more Tiafoe, I'm going to lose it like Smooth was about to lose it while talking Tsitsipas. So
he is a guy who like, again, he's a guy with like the personality is just so frustrating.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about someone a little higher in the rankings that we all love. Musetti. Lorenzo Musetti.
Smooth, you should start here because you absolutely love Musetti. Musetti's like your guy, and I think you're probably the biggest Musetti expert I know. Like when I'm looking for Musetti advice, I go right to Smooth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine he'll improve on this last season. Where did he finish? I should probably know this, but I don't.
8? 7?
I think he finished. Yeah,
8.
he finished
9,
8th.
right? Didn't he finish 9 because he wouldn't have gotten in the fun? Oh, 8.
Shelton,
Oh, because he got the points at the ATP Tour Finals to Shelton.
Yeah, Shelton didn't win a match, and he got the points. Each one of those wins is worth 200 points, listeners. Just so you know.
Yeah.
And 200 points is a big deal. Like that's a lot.
That's a title.
Like people kind of like people poo it because the top 2 have so many points, but 200 points is not anything to sneeze at.
No, that's a title. That's basically a 250.
And winning at 250 is also not. That's a big accomplishment. Like people sneeze at those, but that is not something to be overlooked. Like it's hard to win a title.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So can someone else go on Musetti really quick? I'm trying to pull something up to make my point better. I'm very high on him, but I'll just make it without the exact stats. I think he's going to finish the year in the top five, and I think he might even finish third in the world. I
Whoa.
might be willing to the buy some take stock in Musetti finishes third behind not Zverev, Alcaraz and Sinner. I'm not sure which of them is going to finish first, but the reason being, Lorenzo Musetti after Washington made a fundamental change to his serve. He had previously been doing a lot of rocking, and it was very loopy, very consistent with his overall game. And for those of you who play tennis or know anything about tennis, when you do all that loop, you lose a lot of energy in the transition. So what his coaches did, was they made his serve a lot more compact. So he's not rocking anymore. He's starting with his weight on his front foot. The racket starts very close to his chest. It's straight up and serve. It doesn't look as pretty. It doesn't look like it'd be more effective. But when you break down the statistics, the before that change and after that change, stats are insane. He's holding serve. He's his first serve one, his hold percentage, his second serve one, everything is up materially more than 5%. I wish I had the exact stats in front of me. And you really saw that pay dividends in the hard court swing this year. If he can continue that momentum into the clay season, and there's no reason to expect that he won't. There's no reason to think there's reasons to think that Alcaraz and Sinner exist, but there's no reason to think he can at least replicate that performance as he takes another step ahead of the pack on that surface where he, I think, gained a little bit of separation last year. And I don't know. I don't think an upset of Alcaraz or Sinner at Monte Carlo, for example, is out of the question. I would expect him to make the semifinals again at Roland Garros. We also forgot that this year he was injured for the entirety of the grass season. He came back for Wimbledon, but that was an event that he had previously made the semifinals at. So this is a player who has demonstrated extreme competence on the natural surfaces, and most recently just showed competence on the hard courts. And now we're approaching a year where he has a chance to put that all together. And looking ahead of him, I don't know, guys. I don't like Zverev. He beat Zverev. Djokovic, I expect further decline. Felix, I don't think Felix is very good, but that's a discussion for another time. These are all players who are excellent, but I really think that Musetti, only 24, is going to take another step next year. I'm very, very confident, unsurprisingly.
That's a very interesting take. I would put his over under ranking kind of where it is right now. I would put it around 8 to 10, to be honest. I think, you know, he's improved on the quicker surfaces, but I don't necessarily know how sustainable it is because I think he just doesn't take time away from his opponents well enough on quicker surfaces. He still plays like his tendency is to play clay court tennis on a hard court. I'm not saying like his serve has improved and he's gotten better, but I still don't think it's quite enough to make top five. I also, I think people sometimes take the lazy take and are like Musetti's underpowered and like they don't understand like why he's ranked where he is and like they like fading him. But I don't share that take. I love Musetti as a player and I think he has incredible court craft and tactics. But I think the fact that he doesn't hit big enough and doesn't take the ball early enough, I think is, well, I think the fact that he doesn't take the ball early enough is more of a problem than not hitting big enough. And like I don't think he cuts the court well enough. Like Djokovic, when they played that final in Athens, he just like tactically just broke him down. Um, so I don't know. And then like he's only 24, but it feels like he's been around forever, more than any other guy. And like the way he plays is a very physical.
Incorrect, man. He is 23, not 24.
23. Wow. Wow. And he has a kid already. So like I feel like he's been around forever. Um and
So
physically, I think he has some question marks. Like he had that really, really long, successful clay court season, making the semis of every tournament, and then he was completely useless on the grass because he was just dead. Uh, so I like. I'm not saying he's not fit. I just think his style of play makes it very tough to maintain that kind of level
So,
at the entirety of the season.
so I hear you. I
Hmm.
think that's fair. He has a lot more room to grow. I pulled up these stats and I found them and I want to read them because I think they really hammer home my point. So just on hard courts, because I don't want to bring in other surfaces to this, but on hard courts, before and after Cincinnati. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, before and after the change. So before the change, he was winning 71% of his first serve points. After the change, he's winning 74%. Before the change, he's winning 52% of his second serve points. After the change, 58%. Before the change, holding 79% of the time. After the change, holding 87% of the time. He's done that while maintaining elite break percentage, return points won, and has increased his total points won from 50 to 52. So these are really, really big changes from Lorenzo Musetti on just on serve, just on hard courts.
If, do you have a median ranking on players before the change and after the change?
I do not have a median ranking on players before the change and after the change, but I can read you. We could probably calculate that. It'd be interesting. He played a lot more matches after the change on hard court because he lost in the Australian and Indian Wells and Miami and Washington and Canada, whatever, blah blah. But I don't have that. I can't pull that
Yeah,
up,
that's the
unfortunately.
challenge for me. So,
It's a
like
good
when it
point,
comes to
though. Very
Musetti,
good point.
because like I think there's good points to be made both ways here. I do agree with you, Smooth. The serve looks a lot better, and that's a huge adjustment for a guy who that was, I think, his biggest problem. But I
Yeah,
do think like you can say the underpowered take is lazy, and I can agree to some extent, but it also is a problem, right? Like it at the elite levels, when we're talking top five levels, like that becomes a problem because a guy like like Djokovic, like there are ways to break Musetti down because he is missing like he does not have that in the way that top guys do. Um, on the flip side, yeah, he's only 23. I think we even saw his game has like continued to take leaps and bounds forward in the past 2 years, even in rallies, right? And that's how he's now gotten to the top 10. Because I think like so I think there's a lot of positives. The biggest concern I would have is that when you're talking about Musetti, the post Washington stuff is or the post Cincinnati stuff is U.S. Open, where he beat Pericard, whooped Goffin, beat up on an exhausted Kaboli, and beat a sick Munar. So like, yeah, the stats in those matches are great, and like, but like the wins, just the quality of competition isn't really there. Even if those are high ranked guys, the last two, they weren't all there. Um, the best win post US Open, like he did beat Demon in the tour finals, but like other than that, I'm not sure like what the great. I guess he beat Korda in Athens, and Korda was playing well. That was a really good match, but it's a lot of, and this is usually the case post US Open. It's a lot of wins over, over just competition that's not as good. Smooth, you talked about it before. Like post US Open stuff is always a little hard to evaluate, so that'd be my
100%.
fear there. Um, but like he is gonna crush the natural surfaces, man. He's just so good, and he moves so well on the natural surfaces. This is why he plays better there. He just doesn't move like his
Exactly.
movement and his ball just isn't as good on the hard court as it is. He's just like so clearly more natural on the natural surfaces. He's going to play. Like I feel if they could play the whole season on clay and grass, I don't think it's necessarily a court speed. Like I think he could do fine at clay altitude also. I think it's a movement and the way the ball plays on the surface, but he will play at a top five level on the natural surfaces. I think he probably will be smooth. He probably will. I would feel third feels ambitious, but I think he'll definitely play at a top five level on the natural surfaces. It's just can the
Mm,
hard court results in big events stand up. There's so many events on hard courts. Can it stand up to those? I've got no problem saying he'll match this year's results. But how much better can it get? I don't
Yeah,
know, man. I'm gonna go like I think I would put it somewhere around this year, just because there's so many guys who could take leaps forward. Also,
Yeah, he did make quarters of the US Open, so he has those points to defend. I mean, he made third round of Australia, lost to Shelton in four.
that'd be
Not
interesting.
not terrible in hindsight. Lost to Feast in Indian Wells, lost to Djokovic in Miami in the third round. Lost to Nori in the hard. I mean, he does have some bad hard court losses. If he can, get rid of some of those. He lost to Sonego in Paris, which was a bad loss from a setup.
is Sonego really that bad of a loss though? That's not. I'm not saying that's a
From
good
from,
loss. Like
from
he
a
should
setup
not
and
lose.
losing 6-1 in the third set is bad. He also cost me money, so that pissed me off. Uh,
He has. I mean, he's very vulnerable on hard surfaces because his backhand is still loopy and still attackable, and like the same way one-handers are, and he doesn't have an ability to generate a lot of power from in advantageous positions. So I hear that. I hear that. I just think these improvements, and the improvements are also bolstered by the fact that a lot of the hard stats are indoor. But if he can carry it forward, I mean, I do want like we're talking about, and I know you guys know, but so the listeners know, we're talking about like changes in like 8 percentage points, and you might be thinking like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. But holding at 79.7% of the time, which is the
That's insane,
pre-change,
smooth.
that's
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
like I don't know, that's like what Moutet is holding at, right? Going up to 87% of the time, that's in literally top 10 hold on tour among the top 50 territory. That's in the Shelton category. That's above Zverev. That's in the Bublik category. Like that is likely unsustainable because like he doesn't have a lot of natural power still. It's a lot of placement. But that I mean, we're putting him in a totally different conversation of
To,
tiers
to
at
give
that
you an
point.
idea of how good that 88 percentage, and I think that's a little bit bolstered too. There's probably some variance there,
For sure.
but to give you an idea of how good an 87 or 88 hold percentage is, Riley Opelka held at an 88.5% rate this year.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's all that needed to be said about that. So it's like and I don't know. I'm also a big fanboy, as you guys and
Yeah,
everyone
but you
who
don't
listen
think
to
that his
this.
clay court results will regress a little bit? I mean, semifinals and all the big events, that's semifinals are better. He did make final Monte Carlo. Like I think,
Maybe, and like some
you
of those
know,
were like the demon win, like pulled that out of the hat for sure. Like I
right.
don't know, man. Yeah, they could regress a little bit, but again, he missed the entire grass season where he has a Wimbledon semifinal.
I
So
agree with Smith completely. Like I think that he will. I think they will regress just because finals Monte Carlo, semis Madrid, semis Rome, semis Roland Garros is like
insane.
even if he's the
That's
third
insane.
best player in the world, they probably will regress because he'll probably like just by pure variance, he'll probably lose a match early somewhere.
Yeah.
The
Just again by
physical
pure
task of
variance.
that is crazy, and like I don't think he's going to want to do that again. That cost him a decent chance at Carlos, honestly. Because he got hurt, that cost him. It's just too physical.
It cost him there, and it also cost him at Wimbledon. I mean, he
Yep.
didn't play he didn't play any grass event, and then he lost first round to Bash at
Well, that's what I was
Wimbledon.
gonna say. The opposite part of that is true though, right? Like
True.
he's got. I mean, he
Right.
could easily pick up. He could easily pick up if he plays the full grass season. Easily find at least 700-800 points on the grass that he didn't get this year. Like that's just assuming he plays like 3 events and gets like a I don't know like a semi and a 250 quarter and a 500
Yeah.
and then like a round of 16 quarter out of Wimbledon. That's 400 or 500 points right there. And
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable like I think he's a top 10 player on grass, Musetti. So I think that's a reasonable expectation because I don't think the problem for Musetti is court speed. He's just not as natural on the hard court surfaces. The movement isn't as natural. The way like his slice works really well on grass too. So I think that I think like he'll probably lose some points on clay just by virtue of how ridiculous his results were this year. But I think he washes it with grass, and I think you're right, Smooth. It all depends on how much does that serve lift him on hard courts. Like that's the question is because there's just too much of the season on hard. can he find more on hard courts? Another interesting thing I wanted to point out with Musetti is he also didn't play. He also got hurt on the Golden Swing, and if he plays Golden Swing, like I don't know if he will, but if he does, that's an easy 500 points, if not more, in those three tournaments, just because those aren't great fields.
I don't think he likes it. I don't think he likes the
I
choppiness.
don't think he'll go.
It's just like the Europeans.
I don't think he'll go either, but if he did, that's 500 points,
Yeah.
no sweat.
I think he'll go to Doha and get paid a bucket to go do that nonsense. But
I think you guys are right. I wonder if he's
there.
announced his schedule yet, actually. So some of these guys announced their schedules.
I gotta check. I should know that. I don't. But I think if I had to set back to the question, if I had to set a number, like if I was a sports book, I'd probably set it at 5.5.
Okay.
That's where I'd set the
I would set it at 8.5, very similar to where he is now. And how about you, Brad?
I would set it at like 7.5, because maybe 7.5. I think 8.5 would be fun just because it's the World Tour final. So say 8.5. Because the problem is, like, if you look at the guys below him, like Shelton, Draper, Bublik, like all supremely talented players. Like, like there's guys like, like could he pass maybe a Djokovic? Maybe, but like, I don't know. I just think again, we go back to like the top 8 guys are really good. Like, it's not a shot at Musetti to say that it's going to be tough to finish in it. Like, to say that I think he'll finish, 7.5. I think the top 8 is reasonable, but like,
it's 5.5 is too aggressive. You guys are right. It's too much injuries. Who knows what can happen? You guys are right.
All right, let's do one more guy, and then we'll do a few other small takes on 2026 storylines. I know, Brad, you wanted to talk about this guy, Fokina.
Yeah, man, because the reason I want to talk about Fokina is, and actually, if somebody else can start, because I want to pull up some stats on Fokina. So if somebody else can start, but I do have a soapbox take here.
On Foki, where are we expecting to be ranked? Oh, that's a good question. I kind of think exactly where he is right now. Like, I know that's kind of a cop-out take, but I don't know. I know, like, when you think about Foki's career, especially his 2025, we focused on like the missed opportunities, winning finals, but he had a pretty consistent year for the most part, and I kind of think the variance that hit him there, he also hit him a little earlier in some matches too. I don't know. I don't really feel strongly about Foki. I kind of feel like he ends up exactly where he is. I'm not really sure he has a ton of space to I don't think he has a ton of space to regress, is what I'll say.
Oh, I think he has more room to regress than to go.
Interesting.
I think I think the scar tissue of not winning a title is getting deeper and deeper. And I think the longer it takes to get one under his belt, the worse it's going to get for him. I kind of think like he's a Zverev on a 500 level. Yeah. And also, yeah, it's just he's mentally fragile, right? He's a great player. He's very strong athletically. He's made tons of improvements to his game. But I just think that the mentals are just so fragile, right? It's not like he doesn't compete, and it's not like he can't put it together for a couple rounds, but like it can just come crashing down at any moment. It feels like with him, And any kind of adversity is just, he's going to scrap and try to get his way through. But if he can't, I feel like he can just jump off a cliff. And we've seen that before. So he's made a lot of improvements. For me, I don't think he can maintain that same level of improvement this year. And I think like for that reason, there's more room to decline for him. So that's my take. I would probably put his over-under on ranking probably in the 22, 23 range. So drop maybe 10 spots.
So the reason I wanted to bring in Fokina is like, so Fokina's problem for, I think, for a long time was that like that fragileness, that mental fragility. But I really think that's gone away. People forget he replaced his coach this year. He brought in, I think, Moutet, and he sacked Aguirre, who he had worked with his whole career. And then he brought in Verdasco for part of 24, which was a disaster. I don't know why he did that. That was like probably one of the dumber coaching moves I've ever seen. But he brought and his percentage on his breakpoint performance went from a service points one of return points one of 103 in 2024 to 109 in 2025. And like I love watching Fokina. He's probably my favorite player. And like you can hear Aguirre's or not Aguirre, Montia's his box now is very good at working with him through matches on like focusing on the next point, just playing like a mentally tougher brand of tennis. I think the tactics have gotten better. That was always a big problem for him. Yeah, it's easy to focus. I think it's kind of a lazy take to say he's a choker because like those missed opportunities in those 500s, like the whatchamacallit, what's the one at Delray Beach? Who beat him? Kecmanovic. That was like the body language at the end, like after he choked at 5 or after he choked the 5-2 game was bad, but people forget he was like a couple inches away from making a ridiculous shot to win that match. And if he does that, we're talking about a very different tune. Likewise in Washington, de Minaur popped up that desperation lob. They hit right on the baseline. If that ball's 2 inches wider, we're talking about a very different year for Fokina. If either of those balls are different, and I do think like I said, I gave you the stats before. The mental is way better. I think and on the flip side, I don't know. Like again, looking at the guys around him, like how much better than 15 can it really get for him? Like,
yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah.
So I would probably go with a slight regression down to like 2025, just because that 109 on break points, that service points one of 109 on break points versus 102 on all points seems a little bit variancy, right? He had a win from he had 2 wins, I think, from 2 sets down at the Aussie. He got Mensik from 2 sets down. He got, I think, FAA from 2 sets down. Is that all variance? I don't think so, because he's like, I think some of that is just being a better mental player, Manny. Like you talk, like, you know, I think like in general, like we've seen like Fokina just go away in certain matches, certain spots. We saw a little bit of that this year. Like the Duckworth loss in Los Cabos was completely like you could see that coming, but still completely inexcusable.
Yeah.
Had a couple guys.
You look at the guys ahead of him. I mean, Medvedev is right ahead of him, and then you got Ruud, Bublik, Draper, Shelton, Musetti, de Minaur. I mean, like those guys. Like it's just hard to see him improve from that ranking with the guys ahead of him.
Right, and if those service points won, return points won, gets on the break points. If the break point performance gets a little bit worse, which I kind of expect, just because of variance, I think I think he might lose a couple spots just due to that. But I just wanted to call it out because like we talk a lot about guys not cleaning up the issues in their game, and like this is a guy who made the tough move of sacking the coach, like of sacking the only coach he ever had. The coach he had since he was like 11 or 12.
Yeah. And
it worked for him. And I just wanted to call that out. Like, because, you know, you see these guys go up for coach of the year. And like, I don't know, like, yeah, Ferrero does a good job. Ferrero's a great coach, but like, how much of that is he getting for like his work in 2020, 2021 with Alcaraz, right? You see a guy like Cahill up for coach of the year with Sinner, and probably the best thing he did was his political work in not getting Sinner a bigger suspension for the doping incident. Like, you know, so like you know, and I think a guy like Montia, who, you know, Fokina was 61 in the world in 2024. That's where he finished the year. Was outside the top 50.
That's a huge improvement, right?
And to get a guy into the top 20, like that's yeoman's work as a coach. And a lot of that was, I think, like direct coaching and direct like in match improvements, both psychologically and tactically. And I just think like a huge shout out has to go to that whole team, including Fokina himself, for getting so much better there. And, you know, it's just
he gets no credit whatsoever. he only gets slack for not winning a tournament and choking those match points, right? So like you make a good point.
And again, like if Demon's lob goes 2 inches wider, it's not a choke. He's a 500 champion of a 500 with a really strong
I
field.
know. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit. I'm just saying like going forward, I think that there is some scar tissue that comes from that.
Yeah, and the Acapulco final was really bad. He also made a final in Acapulco that was really bad. But then again, it goes both ways, right? Like he lost a bunch of finals. Finals are huge matches from a points perspective. If he can find a title, if he can find his first title or two, which I don't think is unreasonable for him to win a title somewhere, or maybe win even two.
I thought the Fonseca one in Basel was also a poor performance.
Yeah, that was also really poor. That was a really, really poor performance, the Fonseca one. So
Yeah.
there's room there to improve too. If he can find some points and if he can perform better in finals and find some points at the end of events. So
Yeah.
I'd say somewhere in that, I don't know, maybe it's not so bad. Like maybe 17, 18 is where I'd put it. But like, I just wanted to call out that like, I don't know, man. I think it's just like, I like seeing guys improve and clean up the areas in their game. And we've seen him slowly clean up even the tactics and just, yeah, I just want to give him a shout out for that.
I
Cool.
think last thing I want to say on Fokina is look out for him. Just to our listeners, look out for him at Adelaide and the Australian Open. I actually think he's going to be kind of live at Adelaide in a pretty weak draw, or not a pretty weak draw, pretty stacked draw, assuming everyone plays. He's looking at the 3 seed right now, but I don't know if you guys remember, but last year he had a pretty decent run at the Australian Open before just showing up completely exhausted to get obliterated by Tommy Paul.
Well, that was because again, that's kind of been a little bit of an issue. I guess going back to this too, because this is a little bit of a broader issue, but like that does tend to be an issue for guys without massive serves. And Fokina's had this issue in his career of just having to play way too physical matches and then being just, especially in slams, just being absolutely exhausted by the time he showed. Like this is like, it's got to be. I remember other times too where Fokina showed up in the third, fourth round of a slam was just absolutely exhausted because he played too many long matches before that.
Yeah. I mean that the Tommy Paul one is just the latest example for sure. I mean 5-setter against Felix, 5-setter against Menchik. It's just 6-1, 6-1, 6-1 against Tommy Tennis. So
All right. Two more quick topics before we're gonna call it for this pod. I want to do some hypothetical lines. So, only one is a hypothetical actually, because for the other one there are actually lines up. So, for a yes/no wager, what should the line be set at? Alcaraz and Sinner to win all 4 slams again in 2026. Brad, let's start with you.
Honestly, man, like people may see this as being a little insane, but to me, it's well above 50%. Like one of the two, right? Like I'm not no. Are we saying that right between Alcaraz, like so no player outside of Alcaraz or Sinner wins a slam, right?
Yes,
That's
correct.
that's the one,
All four.
right? But one of the two, but like if it's 2-2, right? That still counts as one of them winning
Yes,
all four,
correct.
right? That's what I meant. Yeah, I put it at like 60%. Like I just like who how does one of them not win all 4 slams? I guess is like
Yeah,
like
besides
how does
injury.
one of them how do both of them lose? Like I don't think they'll both make all 4 finals, but how do both of them get beat by not each other? Because that's the other thing too is moving forward, assuming like one of them doesn't get injured for 9 months, they're going to be on opposite sides of the bracket, right? So in order for that to happen, they would both have to lose to not the other.
Yeah.
And like, how many matches has Sinner lost in the past few years to somebody not named Alcaraz?
Like 3.
So take that to start,
It's stupid. But
and then Alcaraz isn't gonna, yeah, and then Alcaraz isn't gonna clean up whatever's left, and especially in a best of 5 where Alcaraz is such a great player, especially in fifth sets, like. So yeah, I think to me it's might even be higher than 60%. I just don't, yeah.
it's absurd.
The only thing that keeps it low that doesn't keep it even higher is just like injuries and pure variance, right? Like if one of them gets hurt, then all of a sudden it opens up a little bit of a path, or like for pure variance. But that's yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Smooth?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I went really mathy with this when you put it on the rundown. If it kind of gets interesting really quickly, if you assume that these players combine what market share for each slam do you think they have? 90%?
Yeah, that's why that's where I came with my number from. Smooth is I just took like a 90%, but I think 90% market share is correct.
I think 90 is roughly correct too. If you want to play the low end, I guess you could do 85. But the difference in that in 85 to 90 is the difference between a minus 110 line and a minus 190 line. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's impossible to factor in injuries, but these two are just so far above everyone else that it's really hard to make like a reasoned argument. Like I could sit here and make a case that Musetti has a chance to win Roland Garros, but like, does he? like not
Well, no, I mean
really.
if we're gonna talk about it from a real tennis perspective, yeah, like if you look at it, like, okay, who are the guys that could theoretically do it? Like, I guess like Zverev, if he somehow like cleans up the mental, has the physical ability to maybe. I mean, he's far behind, but like I guess maybe at least he's athletically and has the size and like everything you want
Yeah.
from a physical perspective to maybe.
And Djokovic has to beat both of them. That's the problem.
No, Djokovic is not a factor.
I'm looking at this from guys that we haven't yet heard from in full form yet. Like with all respect to Zverev, and I think he's done great. Like I just kind of think we've seen full form Zverev, and I'm not sure what more. But Bublik, for example, if Wimbledon starts playing quick again, maybe he can make a run at Wimbledon. I don't know. It gets really tough, and you need someone who has like flamethrower high end streakyless.
What about
Um,
Draper? I mean, that's a guy we haven't talked about if he can stay
that's good.
healthy. You
What
know,
is his? Uh,
I remember there was a
where? What
point in
surface?
Madrid we were like, okay, and Indian Wells and Madrid in that time frame, we were like, okay, this might be the third wheel.
But that's the problem is you're talking about like in each slam, you're talking about maybe two other guys
Right.
in each slam that could theoretically be competitive and like and all the guys and there's massive issues with all those guys relative to Alcaraz and Sinner, and this is over best of five. Because like I'd make an
Exactly.
argument for maybe Shelton also, just because like if Shelton just
Exactly.
plays out of his mind, like we saw him, Shelton was very competitive against Alcaraz, so like he could play out of his mind, but
I
you
actually think
know,
that was the best match of his year when he played Alcaraz at Roland Garros. I mean, looking
Dude, we were
back,
robbed of
that was
that at the
insane.
U.S. Open.
We were
Robbed. Um,
courtesy of Adrian
Shelton's a good
Manarino.
shout.
I mean,
Draper's a good shout. Courtesy of a shoulder injury.
yeah, but I
Um,
also think Manarino played a hell of a match that day. Like, I think that kind of goes under noticed. He had him on the ropes to some extent in that third round match.
I wasn't Shelton up like a
Yeah, he
lot.
was up. He won that third set when he got hurt off that like running forehand, but like
Yeah.
Shelton was gonna win. But I agree with you, Manny. It was a great match. Like Manarino played amazing
yes.
to even be competitive. But again, that's part of the point the other way, right? Is like that's how good Shelton was playing at that time. That like Manarino played great, and it was still going to be a relatively
Yeah, yeah.
relatively straightforward win for Shelton. Like in terms of not really ever being threatened to seriously lose.
Yeah.
The one other variance point I want to say about this question is like we also don't know a lot about how the courts are going to play this year. We saw this past year like wild changes in court speeds in tournaments. We saw grass courts play slower than literally ever, except for Halle. So
I
there's
don't
been
think
a
it
lot of
matters.
discussion about all of that. Sorry?
I don't think it matters over best of five, honestly. I think
I,
Alcaraz
it
and
it might
Sinner.
if grass starts playing super skiddy like Hollett, like I don't know. I think that makes a difference
But I
if
don't think like I don't think the slams are going to make some of this. Like you see that I agree, Smith. You see that more in like the smaller terms. You see massive changes. Like you might see slight changes, but I don't think they're going to like you're not going to see Wimbledon play like Holland. It's just not going to happen. Like they're not
no,
going to
I hope
speed it up
not.
that much.
I hope not. But this year was crazy slow. So
I agree. Like they might speed it up a little bit, but it's not going to become Hala.
Yeah.
right.
Or it's not even
Exactly.
going to become
I'm just
faster than
saying we don't
average
know.
grass.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying for the sake of argument that court speeds. I guess you're right. It's more on like the smaller scale tournaments, but court speeds are something to pay attention to.
Oh yeah.
Especially with all
As
the
a better on
discussion
the
about it.
tour in general, yes,
Yeah,
completely. We have seen, especially the hard courts, we've seen, yeah, we've seen some pretty big shifts in some tournaments. I agree with you on that. Also,
interesting.
conditions can play a factor with that, right? Like weather, etc., can play a factor with that too.
Of course.
Then one last quick question. This line is actually up on Bovada. Brad and I kind of discussed it off the air a little bit, but top ranked American at the end of 2026. Fritz and Shelton both have the same odds at like plus 175, I believe, or one wasn't that the line?
I think
What?
it's roughly that.
Um, so I was wondering, Smooth, what are your thoughts on that? Like, we actually disagreed on it, which is why I wanted to get your opinion.
Is there any chance you can pull that up on the screen?
Yeah, I've got. Well, I'll read it to you right now. Well, so Shelton and Fritz are both plus 150. Tommy and Lerner. This is hilarious. Lerner's at 10-1, which makes no sense. But Tommy's at 10-1. Foe is at 12-1. Quarter 16. Nakashima 25. Mickelson 33. Your own 50. But the key ones really are Fritz and Shelton at 150.
Yeah, I have strong thoughts on that. That you should bet both of them, and you're almost guaranteed to win because I think they're elevating a level above all the other Americans. But I think Tiafoe again eating way too much market share
The one
in
that's a
that
joke is
area.
Lerner. Like, how is Lerner 10? Like, it's
That's insane. I mean, you could see
Learner
it.
hype
I
is
guess you could see it.
ridiculous.
no, but
It's a
you
little
can't. Like,
ridiculous.
this is the thing. Like, this is where these kinds of lines. I think there's a flaw in how these. And unfortunately, it's basically impossible to exploit because it just doesn't matter that much where they price Lerner. But like the idea of
Nice.
Lerner being like you're not. This isn't saying will Lerner come in fourth place amongst like if you want to say Lerner's going to be a top five American, that's 50-50. I'm okay with that, right? Like I'm okay with where he's like I'm okay with where he's ranked as an American here, but like his upside is limited. He's not going to be the top American. It's just no.
No, no.
Like
Those two
Corda
guys are getting
theoretically
way too
has
much.
upside and like okay maybe I can squint and see 16-1. Foe is just all hype. We talked about that before. Like, but and then these other guys are so low. It's like we all know they're not going to win it. But
But
like
these lines with Tiafoe being 12-1 and in fifth place basically tells me that the market kind of agrees with us on Tiafoe, unfortunately.
Yeah, dude, I kind of just think that's great value on. I hate doing this. That's great value on Fritz.
Me too. I'm with you.
I like Shelton's upside so much more than Fritz's. I like Shelton's game so much more than Fritz's. But Fritz is just so freaking consistent. And like the dude shows up. It's just dude shows up.
the
Ben
other thing
does
is
show
Fritz
up
had an
and
injury this year, right? I mean, I think he played through it, but he had an oblique issue, and his results definitely showed it for a while. Like there
horrible at Indian
actually
Wells.
is some upside there on Fritz to do better than he did this year.
Definitely. I don't even think he did what I think he was an early exit at Indian Wells where he historically does really,
Round
really well.
16, which is
Okay,
early
not
for
that early.
him. But
Yeah.
no, but third round at the French, round of 16 in Dallas, quarter at Delray Beach.
But semis at Wimbledon.
That's repeatable.
That's repeatable.
Yeah.
With
He's
that
great. He's
serve,
great. He's great. He's great. I thought he looked fantastic the whole grass season, honestly.
Yeah, I mean
He,
he did pull rabbit out of the hat against Pericard and he went I think
no, he did not. That's a lie.
no, dude, that was earned.
okay,
Pericard
that's
luck boxed those first two
okay,
sets. It
that's
was a
true.
2-set comeback, but
That
Okay,
was
it's a two
earned.
set
Fritz killed
comeback.
Pericard that entire match. Like the stats on that are insane.
Okay, that's true. I mean, what I meant is he did come back from two sets. So I think with Fritz's one dimensionality, he could um I don't know if
But
it's
is he really
necessarily
that one dimensional? Like, I want to look up where Fritz's return points one
Yes.
are.
I mean, I don't know if one dimensional is the right word, but he's not a very dynamic tennis player. He
Oh yeah, if
has
you want to say he's static, I guess it's phraseology, but like I would say he's static as a like right, like he's not a serve bot, is my point.
no, he has a very meaningful backhanding and baseline game.
Yeah.
so
Terrible coming forward, but
Smooth, if you think Fritz is going to be ranked higher than Shelton at the end of 2026, where do you put them in uh relation to Medvedev? Because you said Shelton, you thought Shelton would be higher than Medvedev.
both well higher than Medvedev. I think Medvedev is more a top 15-20 guy than a top
Oh
10,
wow.
15 guy.
Okay.
So, and I just think the regression it's been a couple percentage points since 2023, like down year over year. So I just think he's done, but not done,
Yeah,
but
for
like
sure,
done at
Medvedev. We
that
talked
level.
about before how good those guys are. Like the upside on Medvedev is a little bit limited. Like
And he's
what?
30,
And he's
like
30, so like Medvedev, he's got to show up every week to like that's how he's like that's how he's got to make it is to show up every week. As he gets into his 30s, like how easy is that to do?
Yeah, like for me, if I'm ranking 5 through 10, I'm gonna go Fritz 5. I would probably do Medvedev 6. I would do Demonor 7, Musetti 8, and Shelton 9. That's
oh,
kind of where I would put him.
you're way higher on Medvedev than I am.
I am. I
Yeah,
am.
well, that's gonna be fun to track. That's gonna be fun to track.
It will be.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Medvedev. Like I love his game. I love my little friendly octopus hardcourt specialist. But I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But I think we talked about it, right? I don't want to get back into it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like again these top guys are they're so freaking you're comparing really freaking good guys against each other, and so like yeah, I just think it's really difficult. Even like Demonor, we didn't talk about like Demonor might be the third best player in the sport if you take out serve.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's also going to be interesting where FAA lands in that jumble. Also where Draper lands. Like we didn't really discuss those two guys. So,
Yeah,
it's
Draper, it's going to be hard to see. We're going to see where he comes back from his
yeah.
injury layoff.
I just don't. I don't. I mean, I think Drape. I don't think Drape. Like, I mean, I say this all the time, but only because nobody else says it. But like, Draper said at the beginning of last year, his hip was going to be a chronic problem.
Yeah.
It looks like that to me.
Yeah.
His what? His hip?
Yeah.
Yeah. This latest injury, I don't know. I don't know all of the details, but from what I've read and heard, I suspect it's pretty significant. I know it's an injury to his arm. I think it's like his nerve, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really
Not
too
reporting
bad
anything,
because
but
he's
it's a shame.
he's talented,
So talented.
but
But I mean that's the so okay. So we got a hip that could be chronic. Now we got an arm. Like
yeah.
Left arm too. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Rough.
it's a tough situation. It's hard to know with him, but the upside's there. I think if he can play, much like Berrettini, he really should focus. I honestly think he should focus. I know this is going to sound like kind of a crazy hot take, but I think he should focus on the natural surfaces. Easier on his body, one, but I think that Madrid run kind of proved, and the Indian Wells run, that he's probably better suited for slower surfaces where he can load up those shots. So,
He's a really good clay player, Draper.
dude, he's
He
fantastic. And it makes so much sense. It's like staring at you right in the face. He has these huge groundies. He's so good at taking the ball early. He's big, and it makes so much sense that he would play well on clay.
And his ball is heavier than it appears. Actually, I've heard from.
Ball is massively heavy. He's got one of the heaviest. Like he when you watch him, his ball is so heavy. It's really pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it was measured one time. I forgot where they measured it, but they measured all the top guys. It was third behind Sinner and Alcaraz.
That's crazy.
Just an animal.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I don't think of Sinner's ball as being that heavy, but
it's ridiculous. It's heavy. It's fast. It's just everything.
no, I just think Sinner's so good. You don't like you just watch him. You're like they're like when I watch Sinner, I have a hard time really analyzing him because I'm just like he's good.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what else to say.
His ball's whatever it needs to be whenever it needs to be. So
yeah.
And his movement's the same way. Like his movement is amazing. Like
Incredible.
his serve is like honestly, his serve might be like the weakest part of his game, Sinner's, and it's just because he's not like Opelka. Like
it's absurd.
Yeah.
All right, well that does it for this pod. Our first Ace the Odds official Ace the Odds pod. And we'll probably come back on air to preview United Cup in Adelaide. I think that would be a lot of fun. No?
Adelaide, yes. United Cup. I know you guys like United Cup. I do not. It's like one of my least favorite events on the calendar.
Yeah, it's
I can't believe there's lines up for that for the individual matches already. There's already spreads up. Like you can bet like Munar already.
Yeah, there are already lines up for Munar Baez. There's
Yeah.
Tsitsipas
Which wow,
Mochizuki,
that I think
Wilson,
that might have been three and a
Zheng.
half last I saw at Munar Baez, which I feel bad. I feel like if it
Yeah.
wasn't the first match of the year, I feel like Munar should dominate Baez. But first match of the year always scares me.
Yeah. Well, there are
Hey,
lines
these are
up for
not
actual
exhibitions.
tennis.
These are not exhibitions. These
They're not.
are
They're
these
not.
are points.
No,
So,
it's just guys. It's just guys coming off of 2 months of not playing cold. You just don't know like how ready these guys are for the season, which always scares me. That's
I mean,
all.
even if we don't pod for United Cup, we'll have lines and bets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We'll have fun.
We'll
For
definitely
sure.
do at least a recap for Adelaide and stuff for so first week of the season is go time.
Yep.
So
Oh my God. Let's go before I tell everyone to hammer Mochizuki.
I
all
don't
right,
know, man. I
guys.
think I actually like that. To me, actually, like that just feels like a good matchup for Tsitsipas. But that's we're getting too deep into it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably good to kill the pod. NFL is starting. I'm gonna go watch my Bills.
Good
Yes.
luck. Good luck, everyone.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. See
Yep.
you.
Thanks, guys.